Well, there was a man who asked his wife, "What gift would you most like for your birthday?" And she said, "I would love to be 10 again." So on the morning of her birthday, he got her up bright and early, and they went to a theme park. He put her on every ride in the park: the death slide, the screaming corkscrew loop, the wall of fear. She rode every ride there was, and she staggered out of the theme park 5 hours later, her head reeling and her stomach churning. Then they were off to a movie theater where they ate popcorn and Twizzlers and drank Coca-Cola. At last, she staggered home with her husband and collapsed into bed. And her husband leaned over and said, "Honey, how is it like being 10 again?" And one eye opened and she groaned, "Actually, honey, I meant dress size." She didn't see the gift. Well, before we move into our message this morning, I wanted to just acknowledge that there are about 23 people that aren't here this morning because they are at Hallowwood Retreat Center. The women are having a retreat this morning, and they're having their own service there, and they're just having a wonderful time. I saw them on Friday night, and they were just geared up to have a wonderful retreat time. So we just send them a blessing right now. So today is our day to explore gifts that life brings us, even when we don't think we're asking for them or when we can't see them. Because life as we experience this has its ebbs and flows, doesn't it? And when life flows, meaning when it feels good and there's money in the bank and we're healthy and our relationships are good and we just feel like we're in the flow, life is pretty darn good, isn't it? And it's easy to see our blessings. But even when life is flowing, though, sometimes, as a disclaimer, sometimes we can take some things for granted, right? Maybe we don't really acknowledge the good that's in our lives the way maybe we ought to. But if someone asks us what the good is in our life, more than likely we'd be able to come up with something. But to me, the tricky part can be when the good in our lives seems to be ebbing, when there isn't the money we want in the bank, when we don't have the job we want, we're not expressing the health and vibrancy we want to be, and some of our relationships possibly are less joyful. Maybe we're just stressed. Is life still good? And well, more often than not, we might label it hard or difficult, a challenge. And in Unity, we always say, it's a growth opportunity. You just want to run screaming from the room when they say that sometimes. Right? And then you hear, oh, it's all for us. Oh, goody. But in truth, that's really the case. But I really want to acknowledge, that what we're feeling, when life doesn't feel like we can't see how life is good. And the tricky part about that, folks, is that when we're not acknowledging life's goodness, when we're kind of feel resistant in one area of our life, the tricky part is that it can't not flow into the rest of your life. Our lives really are not compartmentalized. And we can feel stressed, and it can show up in our physical bodies like tummy aches and headaches and back pain and shoulder pain. And that's when we tend to medicate. We might eat too much or drink too much or sleep too much. And we start maybe avoiding life, isolating. When life feels bigger than us, there's nothing I can really do. What's the point of getting involved? I can't make a difference. How in these situations can we find the gift, the always existing good? So, regardless of what's happening, The truth is, folks, is that there really, truly is a gift in it for us. And when we can find that gift, when we can pause in the midst of a swirling storm and look for it, we can ease its impact and come to a place of peace within ourselves. And I just want to say, this is beyond a unity platitude. You know how we say in unity, it's all good. It's all good in the neighborhood. Well, it is. And how do we get there? Because the reality is, what universal law is, folks, is that when we stay stuck in our negativity, negativity breeds negativity. Fear breeds more fear. Scarcity tends to just breed more experiences of scarcity. But positivity, when we can find the good, breeds more positivity. Love generates more love. Abundance thinking and acting creates more abundance. It's just the law of the universe. It's really not magic. So, how do we create that? Well, I want to share an experience that I had back in Kansas with you. And I was living in this cute little apartment that had a nice little patio. And I decided that I wanted to, get some cute little cushions for my little deck furniture and plant some flowers. I mean, it doesn't look like Keith and Carrie's house, but, I had some little plants out there, and I was so proud of it. And I'd go out and I'd sit out and I'd meditate, and it was great. And when all of a sudden I started noticing that my plants were turned over, and the dirt was everywhere. And then I came out one day, and there was poo on my seat cushions. I was not happy. And what I discovered was that my neighbor below me was feeding the raccoons. Yeah. She was feeding the raccoons, and it was to the point where this went on for about 2 years. Oh, yeah. And I called the apartment management. I even called, the branch of the police that comes out and humanely can remove animals. But the thing is, when the source of the food doesn't go away, they keep coming. And I lived around some woods. So I got to tell you, it was to the point where, yeah, I started to feel victimized by it. I mean, there was poo. Consistently. And I couldn't put my plants out there. There was no way. And so I just thought, okay, how do I handle this? Because this is not going to change in the external right now. And I was really not having a good day, consistently. So I thought, okay, I got to practice what I preach here, because, I was serving in a ministry in that time. And so I thought, okay, the first thing I get to do is I got to stop pushing against what's happening. I can keep doing that, but it's kind of like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting it to be different, because it was not going to be different. And so I think this is the hardest step, folks. If you think about something in your life that you're not really enjoying, where you're not really finding the gift and you're not really finding the good, how difficult it can be to stop pushing against it, to stop resisting it, to stop judging it. It's unjust. I thought, there is no justice here. And I felt wronged and victimized. So I thought, I got to stop resisting. And then I had to ask myself, what valuable information is this situation telling me? Because if I really believe that life is inherently good and there's a gift in everything, man, oh man, I get to find it right now. And so I thought, I'm going to set an intention to find the gift in this situation. And then I got to self-observe. Wow. Yeah. observe my thoughts, observe my feelings, notice where I was feeling it in my body, notice when I just really wanted to do something ugly in return. I mean, there's human thoughts, right? Okay. And then I thought, okay, I've got to go to my inner space of peace and let go of my judgment. Because the thing about it is, and I went directly to my neighbor and asked her to please stop, and there was a denial there and all that, So I did go direct, and I kept, I just noticed the more I judged and the more critical I was, the more it kept me entangled in the negative energy. So it's like, okay, that's part of that pushing against. So as I access my inner peace, I ask myself, what is mine to do and what is mine to know? And so one day, I got the, what I had known for a long time was that it was my time to move. I knew it. And it's like the universe was just helping me out to reach clarity. I knew it was time for me to move. And so I went, okay, what a gift. What a gift to reach that clarity. And also, what a gift it was for me to be able to pay attention to my inner process and notice what came up for me. Because, folks, what came up for me was old stuff. Old beliefs I've been holding. You know what I'm talking about. When we feel victimized, when do we feel victimized? What is this story really about? It has nothing to do with raccoons. It had nothing to do with raccoons. The gift was me being able to glean clarity about what the gift was in this, and to pay attention to my own process so I could grow in the midst of this. See, the metaphysical teaching here, folks, is that within everything, within your life, within every situation, there is infinite God, divine energy. Infinite possibility. There's creative energy in everything. It always is, regardless of whether we're acknowledging it or not. And what I noticed in this situation is that the more I was pushing against what wasn't working for me, the less in tune I was with this creative energy. The less possibility there was for me to be aware of a new possibility. See, the possibilities are always there. It's just we block our awareness and connection to them through our resistance and our judgment, through our unwillingness to just get quiet and go, what is this really about? And what is the gift in this for me? I tell you, folks, it sounds like a simple process, but it kind of wasn't in that situation for me. But I also want to invite us to look at what we're talking about, see, as change. I needed a change. Change is where transformation happens, folks. And change is where we kick and scream because we kind of want change, but at the same time, we want homeostasis, right? Because change is going to call us to change. And I'm so excited about SEE, where Reverend Robert Brumman is coming, who wrote the book, Finding Yourself in Transition. And he's going to teach a class on that during the week. And I have found that to be one of my most sacred texts on my spiritual journey, because this is the short and condensed version. He talks about the value of change and our process of change. And in order to create a new beginning, a new possibility, we've got to have an ending. So I had to end my judgment of my neighbor. And in order to have a new beginning, I had to be in that space of discernment, which is called the void. That name just is like void. Who wants to be in the void? It sounds really dark. But the void is where the seedlings take root. The void is that fertile period where we do our inner work. So we end, we create an ending, We're in the void, and then a new flower sprouts, a new possibility. And if you come to that wonderful class, you'll hear a whole lot more from him. He's such an expert in change, using it as a spiritual awakening. See, the thing is, folks, we can use change, and we can use the things in our life that are, holding us hostage, it might feel like, to have a spiritual awakening. But we can't have a spiritual awakening if we're resisting. We have a spiritual awakening when we find the gift. So I just invite you in your life this week to look at whatever situation you're resisting. And you know what that is for you. And what I invite you to do this week is to just notice your resistance. Just notice and see if you can breathe into it. And just create a space, an opening for what is mine to know, what is mine to do, what is the gift in this. And once you set that intention, I promise you, you'll know. It will be revealed to you as you open your heart and open your mind. Change is calling us. Change is the step to spiritual awakening. But we get to find the gift. And I hold that with you, and I hold no raccoons in your future. So let's affirm together. As I claim the gift in every situation, the blessings in my life expand. I look for the good, and I find it. Bless you. Thank you.